Curtis Wilkerson is not the devil in disguise. He is a HawgSports.com writer covering basketball and really everything, but he's a basketball specialist and joins us here on Halftime. We always appreciate your time, Curtis. Good to talk to you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be on with you guys today.
Absolutely. You got it, man. So we finally have net rankings, right? These are the rankings that mean something to me because they lead to quadrants, which lead to the ability to parse what each victory means, which leads to the selection committee's eventual rankings. These are the rankings that mean something. What do you glean out of Arkansas being number 44 in the net and the other quadrants that come with that?
Yeah, I think it's important with these net rankings to take it with a grain of salt in the terms of understanding that, it gives you a pretty telltale of, where Arkansas is right now and the schedule that they've played so far. Also with the understanding that this is something that's fluid, right? It adjusts throughout the course of the season, it corrects itself. Some of these games that might not look so great now are probably going to look a little bit better in March. But, to look at it right now, like you said, Arkansas debuted at number 44. That might have been a surprise to some people, a little lower, especially when you consider where they're ranked in the AP poll, the coaches poll, one of 12 undefeated teams in the country. But, what's getting them right now is you mentioned those quadrant games, and they've got all six of their home games are in that quadrant 4 range. And that's kind of what you want to avoid. A couple teams on that schedule early that maybe they thought would be a little bit better out of the gates, like a Northern Iowa have scuffled a little bit. So that's dragging them down. But again, it's fluid, right? So for those games to move up from, say, a quadrant 4 to a quadrant 3, they would just have to get into the top 160 in those net rankings. So you look at it, Gardner-Webb's at 161. That's a game that could easily move up. Mercer, they beat Coastal Carolina. I don't know how exciting that is. They did it last night. They moved up from 209 to 164. So it's such a small sample size right now that those things are going to go back and forth. Arkansas plays Charlotte tonight. They're number 201, and regardless of outcome, Charlotte's going to get a bump just for playing Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting to follow, but it's definitely something that's going to change a lot in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and then Oklahoma's net ranking is 38. So you'll get a chance to bump it up on Saturday. And you can't take anybody lightly. Just ask Florida. I'm not going to go out and say that they took Texas Southern lightly.
I'm sure they did.
There was no betting line, man. But nobody could have imagined that they would end up losing. I saw a tweet you'd put out here, and according to the stats, it must have just been an unlucky day for Florida. Is that true?
Yeah, it's incredible, right? And I retweeted what Shot Quality puts out, and that's just a site that they really measure just kind of teams' performances based on the type of shots they create and take, and then the same thing for their opponents. And looking at it, it seems like based on the shots that both teams took over the course of the game, that Florida pretty much should win that game every single time. And obviously they should have anyway, playing an 0-7 Texas Southern, but based on the shots that were taken in the actual game, they should have. So it means Texas Southern was lighting it up and probably shooting a little bit over their heads, and Florida just had a really rough night. So that's a tough one for them for sure.
All right, so Arkansas is undefeated. They're mostly playing well, yet we have a sense that there's still a ways to go before they reach their potential, and maybe they haven't even really scratched their potential just yet. When they're finally there, what do you think this team will be really good at, and what do you see as a potential weakness?
Yeah, well, I think they've got the potential to be really good defensively, and quite honestly, they have been for the most part, aside from those ups and downs, defending the 3. But I think it's a team that's got some really good perimeter defenders. They're a high steals team. They generate a lot of turnovers and get out and convert in transition. Any team that can fuel their offense through their defense is usually putting themselves in a pretty good spot. They've rebounded very well, and I think it's something they can carry over into SEC play. And then offensively, we've talked a lot about the point guard position and who's going to man that role, and they've been trying to figure some things out there. But if you look at it, they're a pretty low turnover team and a high assist rate team on the national scale. So they've been sharing it pretty well. Just really good off-ball movement. You got the cutters like Audis Tony getting to the rim, Jalen Williams facilitating things. So I think, creating good opportunities around the basket with some good passing is something that will carry over as well. And then, in terms of weaknesses, you nitpick, and you kind of have to with an undefeated team. You got to find a weakness like that. But it's 3-point shooting. And we're getting a fairly large sample size right now, and it's an area they've struggled in. I thought they did better against Little Rock in terms of overall shot selection. They did make 6, which is a step forward. I think they're a better 3-point shooting team than they're letting on, but I don't know that they're going to be a great one, especially in terms of overall volume of makes. So that's something to keep an eye on. If you're not going to shoot the 3 very well, you probably need to defend it really well, or vice versa. So I think those 2 areas are going to be something to really watch as the season moves forward.
Curtis, bringing up the 3-point shooting, and that's kind of been the question mark around an 8-0 team, and the way that college basketball is nowadays, and it translates it into the SEC. Can you win in college basketball without having 1 or 2 dead-eye shooters? Because it feels like every team in recent memory that makes a deep run in the tournament or wins the tournament, they always have at least 1 or 2 guys they can go to at any moment to knock down that big shot.
Yeah, so far so good, and they've had a couple tests there on the neutral sites against a Kansas State team that's better than maybe people expected, and Cincinnati, who I think is an NCAA tournament team, and Arkansas didn't shoot well at all in those games, but they defended the 3 really well. So, they're going to need to be able to knock down some of those perimeter shots moving forward. I think to really kind of max out their potential. And they might be a streaky bunch. I mean, we've seen them already knock down 10-plus threes. I think it was that Northern Iowa game. They can get hot. You've got guys that can knock down 3 or 4 in a game, and a J.D. Note and Chris Likes. And I'm really anxious to see, how the role continues to evolve for a guy like Jackson Robinson. I know the percentage might not play it out right now, but, man, when he shoots it, you think it's going in. It's just a really fluid release, and I think he could really help him to that regard. To answer your question, and it's kind of like I said a minute ago, I think if you're not going to shoot the 3 very well, you better defend it really well, because otherwise you're playing the numbers game and you're trading 2s for 3s. And, I mean, we can all do that kind of math. Yeah. So I think, one way or the other, they're going to have to either really shoot it or really defend it.
A few guys that I want to kind of get your opinion about their role on this team, and kind of from what they've been playing, it's kind of night and day. And Connor Vanover, where he started 7 games to this point, but his minutes have been so fluctuating up and down that it's kind of hard to really pin down his role. And then returning guy in KK Robinson, who only played 4 minutes last week, and we've had a caller call in a few times wanting to know, what his situation is with the team. So I just want to get your opinion on those 2 guys.
Yeah, with Connor Vanover, it's interesting with him. It seems like it's kind of a similar role to what he had last year. Before he did fall off a little bit there towards the NCAA tournament, but for the most part, they would start him, see what he could bring to the table in a given game, and if the matchups worked out, he'd play. And if the matchups didn't work out, then he'd probably sit most of the game, and we've seen that so far. When Vanover has a good defensive matchup, he can be a really key piece for this team, and we've seen it. He's had some big performances. His per 40 numbers are amongst the best on the team, to be perfectly honest. But, when he faces one of those mobile big men or a guy that can drag him out on the perimeter, that's just a tough challenge for him. And it's, in those situations, you're going to have to go with somebody else. And quite honestly, I think that's why a guy like, maybe a Trey Wade or a Kamani Johnson could become really important, because you're going to have some of those matchups in SEC play. So for Vanover, I think he's kind of a guy that's going to be situational. You're just going to have to see from game to game, if the matchups work out for him. And then with KK, I think you can tell when a guy is pressing a little bit, maybe thinking a little bit too much. And I feel like that's what I'm seeing from him in the last couple of games. He's been getting some opportunities. He sees, Arkansas's got a pretty good backcourt. There's a lot of guards there, a lot of guys with, who are proven with experience. He's trying to crack that rotation, and he's trying to do it in short spurts. And so, he's got to take advantage of his opportunities. You know, he got in there against Little Rock, was only in there for a few minutes, and then he fouled a 3-point shooter and got taken out. So taking a little bit better advantage of those opportunities. You want to see him maybe be able to play through some mistakes and build some confidence, but you know, Arkansas hasn't really pulled away in these games enough to have the luxury to be able to do that so far. So it's been a tough situation for him. I do think if he's right and confident and playing up to his potential, he could be one of those guys that could really help this team from a shooting standpoint from beyond the arc.
So you mentioned two guys here that I think are going to be big moving forward. And not that they're going to be stars on this team or anything, but it's Trey Wade and Kamani Johnson. And I say that because the only player for Arkansas right now that weighs more than 210 pounds, that's getting minutes, real minutes, is Jalen Williams. And Trey Wade and Kamani Johnson are thick, strong dudes that you're going to need when you get into the SEC season. Like, and Jalen Williams can't do it himself. I think he's an incredible player. But there has to be another forward to do forward things once you get into the league, right?
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. You know, it's interesting. Jalen Williams, he's just been so valuable to this team with everything he does beyond scoring, you know, with his passing, rebounding, everything like that. But, you know, especially once you get into SEC play, those guys who are playing center, playing on the interior, they're taking a beating, and that's going to wear you down over the course of the year. So you're right. You know, this is an SEC that is about as athletic and big and physical as I remember seeing in years. So they're going to need those guys. And, you know, Kamani Johnson has a reputation for bringing that physicality. He's a fantastic offensive rebounder. You're going to need that. I think he could really help the team from that standpoint. We haven't seen a whole lot of him just yet. And so you would like to see him, you know, get a little bit more comfortable as opposed to just being thrown into the fire come SEC play. And then the same thing with Trey Wade, and yeah, he's a unit. That guy's a tank, just big, broad-shouldered, strong guy. What I like about Trey Wade is he's got so much experience. And he played on an NCAA tournament team at Wichita State. He's been a starter pretty much his entire career, understands his role. So, you know, I think when you get in some of those tight games and with what he's able to do with his defensive versatility, a guy that keeps the ball moving, he doesn't have to look for his own shot, and then can give you that banger kind of presence in the lane and get on the glass. I think either one of those guys could be important. And again, you know, Jalen Williams is your guy, right? So it's not like you need either one of these guys to come in and play 25 minutes a night for you, but if between the two of them you can get, you know, 12 to 15, I think you're a lot better team.
Yeah. Kurt, appreciate your time, man. We'll see you at Bud Walton Arena tonight. Thank you.
It's Thanksgiving, and we all know what that means, football. And nothing goes better with football than turkey and betting. BetOnline has you covered for all the holiday season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all sports action this Thanksgiving. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with the promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV to receive your bonus. And it's not just football. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all these amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports.